Welcome to this session of how to make an animated PowerPoint game. I am Joe Hart. If you go to heritagekids.info, you'll be able to find the three things that you might need for this workshop. One will be the how to make a game, and this will be the one that we will be editing over here. Download it by clicking in this section. Then we have the instructions for it. If you want the written instructions, it's over here. And if you wanted to have a video of this session, if you'll just click here, you can download the YouTube video. This is also a section where I have my animated games. I have students interact with technology in order to figure out things that they need for their special subjects. First thing I usually think is a theme, and so I go to Google and I try to get backgrounds for it. I copy and paste them from there, and usually I put them into a PowerPoint. In this case, I was looking for Eli Whitney's cotton gin. I was looking for things that dealt with the Industrial Revolution in Georgia and in the United States. And so I just continue to go through there. I needed some kind of background for this, and I wanted images to move across it. And so I searched and searched. Actually, it could take me up to 2 or 3 hours just to find images. And one of the hardest things to find was I was trying to find some kind of a canal, and so that I could have things move up and down the canal. And I finally found an image that would help me out with that. In this animated game, we're going to have 4 things that are moving. First, we're going to have an A that's in a wagon pulled by horses, showing some old type of transportation. B, we're going to have a donkey pulling a boat down a canal. And C will be a fast-moving train. And the D answer will be a cotton gin. You'd put the questions in down here with a B, C, or a D choices. We'll be using this information sheet in order to learn how to make the game. As we begin, it kind of goes from 4, 5, and 6, bottom page kind of up in this case, in order to figure out how to make the game. We'll be talking about how to zoom, grouping objects, and renaming objects. In the PowerPoint that we will be revising, in slide A, we'll have all the revisions in it. The first thing we're going to do, and that's section number 4 of instructions, we're going to go down here and we're going to make this thing to be 40%. So I'm going to take the zoom and I'm going to click on this until I get it to be 40. I had to click mine twice in order to get it to be 40. All right, that's so that we can see the whole screen, because there's going to be things off the screen here that we're going to have to do some things with it also. Number 5, we're going to group objects. In order to group an object, let's go down here to where you have the wagon and the A. In this case, there's 2 items right there. I've made an A, and I want to make sure the A is grouped with the wagon and the horse here. And so what I do is I start over the right lower hand corner in this case, and I just drag it up, and I got to make sure that there are 2 rectangles in there. Make sure you have 2. If not, make sure you might have to re-drag it again, start a little bit wider, and come up through. Don't try to get anything else but just those 2 items. Make sure there are 2. In order to group it, you need to right-click on it, and you go under the word Group, and click on Group. Group, and then Group. Now these 2 are together. Let's do number 6, and this is how to rename these items. So I need for you to go over to Home, make sure Home is clicked, and then go all the way over to the other side where it has Select. In Select, I want you to click on the Selection pane. Click on it, and you'll get a selection pane. In this case, PowerPoint has named it something else, and again, on my computer it called it Group 7. We want to rename it though. In this case, we're going to name it, click inside there and delete what it has, and let's name it A and Wagon. Now that we have our object grouped, we're going to learn to animate it. So in number 7, we'll learn how to make this A wagon go across the screen. As we begin to animate this object across screen, let's get rid of the selection panel by clicking X. In order to animate an object, you first want to make sure that you click at the top at Animation tab. Then go over to the Animation panel when it comes up. Click on it, and you'll get an animation panel. So far, nothing has been animated, so it's kind of empty. Click on the object that we're going to animate. In this case, it's going to be the A wagon. We want to animate it. And then we're going to click up the top here. It says Add Animation. We're going to click on the little arrow going down. And we want to go down all the way down to More Motion Paths and click on it. When we click on it, another panel comes up, and we want to go down to more under Lines and Curves. We want to go down to Left. Click on Left and click OK, or double click it, either way. And you'll see that the PowerPoint tries to animate it. Now, in this case, this object is going to start right here, and it's only going to go to right here. We want it to go all the way across the stage. In order to do that, we've got to get over here where the red arrow is, and we've got to click on it, because that's where the end would be. We want to get it to go all the way off stage, a little bit past maybe the, about right here, we get it all the way off stage. Okay, and then let it go. Make sure that there is a dot over here, the green dot, or the green arrow with a dot on it is in the middle of the A wagon, and that the red one is all the way to the end. Sometimes that doesn't happen, so make sure that happens in your case. Sometimes this animation line right here may get off a little bit. You may find it in different places. If it does, all you need to do is click on it and get it back. You want the green one where it starts, about where the driver would be inside the A wagon. And you want the other one all the way across the stage. Just in case, just move it back, connect it to the animation point again. In section 8 of the instructions, we'll talk about animation timing. Let's use the animation panel in order to do some timing of the objects that we want. You might want to enlarge your animation panel here. Click here, and you might want to make it just a bit wider. Click on an object in here that you want to animate. In this case, it has a 1 next to it. Now, 1 means that when you click one time, that animation happens. But we want this A wagon to come on automatically. And so what we have to do is click on the arrow next to it. And we're going to click down to where it says Start with Previous. Click on it. If you notice, the 1 disappeared and a 0. What that means is when this slide comes on, the A wagon will begin going across. We got to do a little bit more timing to it. In this case, it's real fast. So we're going to click on the down arrow here, and we're going all the way down to Timing. Click on Timing. When you click on Timing, another item comes up here. In this case, it says left at the top here. We want to look at the duration. In this case, it goes past the screen every 2 seconds. That is way too fast for any student to be able to click on it. So we're going to click inside of here. And I'm going to get rid of the 2. I'm going to make it down to 15 seconds. Also, we want to repeat. In this case, it says none, but we want to click on that, on the repeat button. And we're going to click until the end of slide. We want this thing to continue going and going and going all the way through, so students have lots of choices. And then we're going to click OK. So let's test out what we've done. We've got the A wagon going across the screen, and it's supposed to come on as soon as the slide comes up. So I'm going down here, and I'm going to click on this little item here, Slideshow. Click on it. Here it comes. It's coming in, and it's going off the stage. It's going to take 15 seconds for all that animation to happen. And it will continue to repeat itself every 15 seconds going across the stage. In step 9 of the instructions, we're going to add a second animation to make the object disappear. Okay, click on the object to animate. And if we click on the A wagon, notice it has a box around it, so it's ready to be animated. Then we're going to click at the top of it, make sure that you're under the Animations tab at the top. And if you are, you're going to add another animation. In this case, we're going to go all the way down to More, Exit Effects. Click on Exit Effects. And you notice that another window comes up, add an exit effect. And then we're going to click on Fly Out. Click on Fly Out and press OK, or double click on Fly Out. We want to edit the way in which this wagon is going to fly out. Right now it's going downward, but we would like for it to fly out going to the left. So let's change that to go to left. Notice over here in the animation pane now we have 2 things that are animated. Both of them are A wagon. On this second one here, it has a 1 next to it, and it looks like a star that's kind of flying out a little bit. In number 10, we'll be learning about the trigger effect in PowerPoint. and these triggers will make objects disappear. So let's add a trigger effect to make this Wagon A disappear. We're going to click on it as a button and make it disappear. The way you do that, go over to the animation pane, click on this one that's going to fly away, this second one here. Click on it, make sure that it gets highlighted. Once it's highlighted, then you're going to go back under the animation pane up top, make sure you have animations on, and then underneath the animation pane you see the word trigger. Click on the trigger, and then you're going to make it on click off, and then you're going to go down to wherever A wagon is. See where A wagon is? Click on A wagon. Now if you notice over here in animation pane, you now have a trigger A wagon. So if I click on A wagon, it's going to make A wagon fly away. Let's check it out and see if it happens. I'm going down here and see if I can make it disappear. As it comes on, we get my mouse ready. And so if I click on it, it should make it disappear, and it did, and it won't come back on stage again. Now that we have completed animations for Wagon A, we've had it go across the screen automatically, and we've also made a trigger for it. Now we're going to repeat items in 7, 8, 9, and 10 in order to provide animation and triggers for each of the answers B, C, and D. Let's begin animating B by clicking on it and getting a rectangle around it, and then we want it to move. In order for it to move, we got to go to animation. If you're not there, make sure that you have your animation panel clicked, and we're going to go over here to animation. In this case, we're going to go down to more motion paths, click on it, and this time we're going to make it go to the right. Click on right and click OK. Now as it came on, it tried to come on, but it didn't go very far. It only went from this part to right here. That's not far enough, so we got to make it go all the way across the stage in a straight line here. And let's make it go to at least past the A right here, the A wagon. Get it straight, let go. Make sure you have a dot, a white dot with a green, and it's about in the middle of the B section we have here, this boat along with the donkey pulling it, and that you have a red one on the other side over here with a dot. That's the animation. Now we got to figure that out. That's over here. It's got a 1 next to it. Start with previous. In other words, when these two things come on, when the slide begins, these two will begin. We also got to slow it down. It's pretty fast. So we're going to click on the arrow next to the B mule boat, and let's go down to timings. And under timings, under duration, let's click and make it slow also. Let's make it 15 seconds also. And we want it to repeat. How often do we want it to repeat? We want to repeat it until the end of the slide, so that it will continue to move across the screen until a student has time to click on it. Now we need to add a second motion. This time, let's click on it again. Make sure that there is a rectangle around the B mule boat there. And we're going to make it disappear. So let's go under animation again. Click on the little arrow below it. This time we want it to disappear. So as we click on more effects, we want it to fly out. And we want it to fly out fairly fast, and we don't want it to go downward. Let's click up here next to add animation. Let's make it go to the right even faster when it goes out. So now we've got it to come across the screen, and we got the B mule boat to be disappearing. We need to add a trigger for it. So let's go under trigger up here. Make sure it's highlighted. Make sure B boat is highlighted. Let's add a trigger for it. On click off, and let's go down to B mule boat. Click on it. Now you notice we have an A wagon trigger and we have a B mule trigger. Let's add one for the train. Click on the train. The train, make sure the train is highlighted. Let me move it over here a little bit so you can see it. And we're going to make it go across the screen. In order to do that, we're going to add an animation to it. And we're going to add more motion paths. This time it's going to go left. Click on left. It didn't go very far. It only went from here to not even the top. So it didn't get very far on stage. So to make sure it gets there, we're going to click on the red arrow with a dot there. Make sure you got it and click on it and drag it all the way across the screen, and pretty far because it is a long one. Let's go about that far across the screen for it. Okay, make sure that you have one dot over here close to the center of the train, and make sure you have a red one with a dot on the other side. If not, if it does get lost some way, if it got lost up here, make sure you just click on it and put it back close to where the C train is right there. The C car pretty close to there. All right, now we've got it, but it's pretty fast, so we're going to slow it down some. We're going to go in the timings. You click on the arrow, and once you go down there, click on timings. There's a timing that comes up. We're going to make this one go a little bit faster than the other items on here. Let's make it go across about every 10 seconds. And we want it to continue until the end of the slide. Click OK. We have a 1 next to it. We got to make sure that it comes on and starts going across the track as soon as the slide comes on. With the 1, that means we'd have to click it. So let's make sure that we click on this arrow, and let's start with previous. Now you notice there's a 0, nothing, nothing. These 3 items will come on automatically. Let's check it out and see if that's true and how fast it is. All right, I'm looking to see too if the train is on the track. It's fairly good. Okay, now we need to make sure that the train disappears, so let's click on the train. Make sure it has a highlighted section around it. And we're going to make it disappear. So let's click on Add Animation, go down to More Exit Effects. This time it's going to fly out. And which way do we want to fly out? We want to fly out in the direction it's going. So it's going to go out fairly fast, and we're going to make it go to the left even quicker. Now that we have a train that's going to fly out, we need to create a trigger for it. So go under Trigger here, make sure it's highlighted over here in the animation panel. Click on Trigger, on click off, and this time it's C train. And now you notice we have 3 things that will be disappearing. Anytime we click on either A, B, or C, it will disappear. One last one we have to do, and this time there's not an animation for it, but when we click on the letter D, we're going to have it fly away. It doesn't animate, so all we have to do here is add a trigger for it. We're going to add an exit effect. We're going to fly it out also. In this case, we want maybe to go out flying out at a different angle. So let's click on it. Let's make it go top and left just to make it fly out fairly fast. We need to add an effect to that. So over here where it gets out, let's add a trigger for it, an instance of. And in this case, we're going to make it just called D. Click on it. Now we have 4 things that could fly out. Let's test it out to see if all these work. For example, I'm just going to click to see. Here comes a train. I click it, it flies away. I click A, it flies away. I click B, it flies away. If I click D, it flies away also. And you notice they did not return. We are ready for step 12 of the game, and that's going to be making a correct answer for the game. We're ready to make the correct answer. In this case, I've got it sitting above the game. It's a red rectangle. I want you to click on that red rectangle and kind of click on the outside so it just highlights it. Then I want you to click on Add Animation and go down to More Motion Paths. In this case, we're going to press down under Lines and Curves, double click or click OK. I need for you to click on the white dot next to the red arrow in it, and I want you to drag it all the way down straight if you can and get it down to about the railroad tracks and let go. Let's go over to the animation pane. We're going to make sure it starts with previous. Start with previous. Then we need to put it where the answer is correct. We're going to reorder it. A couple ways you can do that. For example, you could just drag it down. For example, let's say if A was the correct answer, I could click on it and drag it down past here. It could be at the bottom. If B was the correct answer, I could put it under B, and this time it would be B. If it was C the correct answer, it would be in this location, the last item in C. Or if D was the correct answer, it would be down here. Other ways you can reorder this too is go to the bottom. You could click it up if you wanted to, but make sure it's the last one that's in a trigger effect. For example, in this case, we're going to leave it at B will be the correct answer. In step 13, we're going to put a hyperlink into the red section to make it go to the next slide. Okay, let's hyperlink the red correct rectangle. Click on it to highlight it. Once you highlight it, I want you to go to the Insert tab at the top. Make sure it's highlighted. When you go over, I want you to go all the way over to Action. Click on Action. When you do, there's an Action Setting button coming up. Then I want you to go down to the second one. It says Hyperlink to. You may have to go through and get it. In this case, I'm going to go on down. Sometimes you might have to go up and down. In this case, I want it to go to the next slide. Click on it. Make sure next slide is inside there. Then click OK. Once I've done that, this game should be ready to work. So here's what's going to happen. In this case, we want it to be B is the correct answer. And so when I come on, if I click on B, then this red thing should come down. And it did. And then I can click on it. And it would take me to the next slide, which in this case right now is a blank one. Let's improve this game by adding some sound to it. Let's add some down here. For example, in Wagon, we want it when it disappears to play a sound. And so under this trigger A, I'm going to click on the down, and this time I'm going to be effect options. When I click on it, it says no sound, and so what I'm going to do is I want to go down, and I've already loaded some of these in, and I want it to be some hooves. So now that whenever you click on it, it'll sound like hooves of the horse going by. Let's also add some for the mule. In this case right here, the mule. Let's add an effect for it. And this time I'm going to add a donkey sound. Okay, and for the train, we're going to add, let's see, some effects. And let's add a train effect. Okay, for D, let's have just some kind of another idea flying out here. Let's go down to effects option. Let's add a sound. Let's make it a push sound in this case. Just make it look like it's flying away, swooshing away. And that's the way you can add sound into your PowerPoint games. Now, in order to add them, you might have to go, when you get the sound here, you may have to go all the way down to the very bottom one, which says Other Sounds, and then it will take you to wherever you have your sounds on your laptop, and you'll have to load them in wherever you have them. Let's add just a few more things to help you in your game. I go up under text box, and I make a text box down here, and I say note to the teacher, and so I leave it down at the empty. Nobody knows about it. Now if you want to continue making some more slides, you're going to put your questions in ABC, and then what you want to do, I just go over here to the slide and I say duplicate it, and so now I have one on slide 2. But if I want it to be a different answer, the last one was B, and so now let's say I want one to be D. And so then I need to change it down here to say the answer is D to this slide. And you can continue on duplicating it. This kind of ends our session with how to make an animated PowerPoint game. I hope you enjoyed it.